Huzzah, and well met once again to my wayfarers and wanderers and travelers of all stripes. I hope that you've had a relaxing holiday weekend, even if it is a somber reason for the occasion. And I did tell you all in a post that I had a fun story for this week to share with you. So, I'll get right into that and then we'll talk about what you're looking at here with these builds. So this week I had, um, well, for a little background first, we'll say that I am a truck driver and I travel all over the nation, um, hauling for deliveries and whatnot. And I won't say where I was when this happened, just to protect some privacy. But my truck was broken down and I was waiting on it to be repaired in the shop attached to the truck stop. And while I was at the truck stop, I happened to see David and Clark of Sellsword Arts wander into the truck stop. So I got to meet these guys who take and apply pop culture to actual um, sword study and swordsmanship. Um, they were they were wonderful, just real chill guys to meet. Real gracious about the whole time, and I tried not to take a ton of their time and geek out too much at them. I didn't ask for selfies or anything, but I thought it was really neat to actually meet them in person. They were on their way to an event, and like I said, they were at a truck stop, so you're on a mission when you get there. And I tried not to hold them up too much, but it was very neat. So they were exceptionally gracious with their time, even though it seemed like they were pretty tired of traveling at that point. So, anyways, I'm going to link their channel in the description if that sounds like something you might be into. I know I find their stuff very enjoyable. It's usually shorter videos. They talk about things like the usefulness of throwing knives in a fight, or a sword fight, anyways, or using magic, or how you might do some of these things. So yeah, go give them a view or two or a subscription. They're a lot of fun. And let's get into what we're talking about today here in Minecraft. So, last video we talked about these slow elevators, and I had to really tinker around with these to make fast elevators, but we've finally done it. So, I have two variations really. This one is single wide, and it is tileable next to each other. It if you stack or line them up right next to each other, they'll be just fine. They won't interfere with each other's workings. And this uses an observer clock. So how this works is we'll place our items into this bottom dropper via this hopper. Our comparator here will detect the items within the dropper and send its signal onward to this sticky piston. It might be hard to tell that it's a sticky piston, but it is. It will push this observer down to look at this observer, which will start one of the fastest clocks that we can make in Minecraft with an observer observing another observer. So what will happen is this observer will see the clock, the observer clock cycling the signal back and forth, and each time that it observes this observer being powered, it will it will be powered. This observer will observe that and light up this redstone dust. This observer will observe the redstone dust, sending the power up through our blue concrete block and powering our dropper for one drop. The rest of the circuit happens here as this observer observes the other half of our observer clock, sending the signal upwards, and then it works just like the rest of our series of observers, powering each concrete block in turn. This design originally came from Legowatt. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They had um, a copper lamp or a copper bulb here in place of the redstone, but I found that that would cause it to lose items within the tower occasionally because the timing just doesn't work out exactly. They also had a glowstone block sitting on top of this observer just for the sake of ruling out lag. Your redstone items that light up can cause lighting updates. We don't ever have to deal with that because this world is an always daytime full light mode. So our lighting updates never cause any lag because it's not changing the lighting around any of these blocks. But it's something to keep in mind. Keep your structures and your machines lit up pretty well so that the flashing redstone devices don't cause a whole lot of lag as they keep updating the light sources and light strength nearby. But anyways, just to demonstrate this one, it is fairly quick. When you're loading things with the hopper too, you will sometimes have the dropper and the clock get ahead of the hopper so that you'll hear this piston extending and descending while we wait for all of the items to move through. But there you have it. We don't. It is Bedrock, so I can't say with 100% certainty that you will always have all of your droppers cleared out. But I've not seen it fail once yet since I replaced the copper bulb with redstone dust. And I will also link Legowatt's channel. I believe they were playing on Java Edition, so that may be why the copper bulb works better in their build, but I can't be sure of that. So you saw that this was fairly quick. This is our very standard uh, this is a quote unquote slow elevator. This is the quickest we can make this circuit that doesn't eventually break itself. And you saw how fast that was going and how much faster this one went if we just place these directly into the dropper. You can actually hear that extra clicking is when the redstone clock works faster than the droppers are capable of working. So the signal runs through an extra time. And that was much faster than our standard slow elevator over there. But we're going to use the same circuits as we used before in our disposal or unloader dropper lines. You might remember these from an earlier video, excuse me. And these were meant to drop all of our items into a water stream or something of the sort. These, on the other hand, are going to elevate our items through a series of mechanical droppers, and they are essentially the same circuit. Now, this is incomplete right now because if I cover it up with all the observers and extra blocks, we won't be able to see what's going on here. But what we have is our comparator is in subtract mode so that it will shut itself off when it sends a signal forward, and the signal returns to itself and subtracts that amount of signal from the signal it receives from behind. The signal it's receiving from behind is coming from this cyan concrete block, not the observer. Even though it's pointed to the observer, this observer will not affect this redstone dust. And we are using that to depower this torch and cause a flicker here on this redstone dust to be observed. These observers here, right here on the bottom, will observe the redstone dust. These observers will observe those observers observing the redstone dust and depower these torches, which will then repower, powering through the cyan concrete blocks here and soft powering our droppers here that are loaded from these hoppers. If you're not familiar with fast hopper lines or fast hopper funnels, I may have called them funnels. That's in another video that I've made, And there will be a future video about routers and distributors so that we can look at moving items in different directions, but that's not part of this. So, how this works after all of that is done is this comparator looks through the concrete block into the dropper, and if it finds an item in there, it will send its signal on through this green concrete block, which will in turn power this redstone dust, power this blue concrete block, powering the repeater, and sending power to our initial cyan concrete block, which powers a redstone dust to our comparator clock here. Same goes for this blue concrete block and comparator. It will see that there's an item in this dropper and send it through this redstone signal, or excuse me, send its signal through this redstone dust to the blue concrete block, into the repeater, and onward to our cyan concrete there. So if any items are detected in either hopper, or excuse me, in either dropper, you're going to see that our clock is lit up. Nothing is happening. Well, something will be happening, is they're going to be sending the items upward. But we needn't demonstrate that whole thing over again. If there are items in either dropper, at least one of these comparators will be lit up, and our comparator clock will continue to cycle until both of these are shut off. So what we end up with is we need to send our signal from beyond our comparator clock up these observers, all observing the one beneath them, and we're going to place more observers, observing those at an angle, and then all of those will be observed as well, and we'll end up with a big giant brick of a build. But we can take all of that out. That is all of that. And now that we've placed all of our observers, we will see all right, so you can see that didn't take very long at all. And our circuit works just fine. Nothing ends up left in the bottom dropper. As like I said earlier, as long as that comparator is detecting an item in there, this will continue to fire until it's empty. And even then, there is one last cycle of the signal that will attempt to move everything else out of the droppers. So these are very difficult to break. They're very difficult to jam up, uh, sending items upward. So they shouldn't be clogged with too many items. This is the neat part about this build, is you can just extend it infinitely, and you'll see that I tried to back there. But we'll go over that in a moment. This is the same circuit, except it has two more columns. And all we need to do is place all of our observers, which can become difficult if you have to get in here and try and place them appropriately while you're standing inside. But I'm not going to demonstrate all of that just because that would be a waste of time. You can see we have our two minecarts here feeding into two hoppers each, feeding into our droppers, and one chest on top means that we can send them through. We'll see that the items are falling into all four droppers that are being detected. So, like I said, infinitely extendable. I made breaks here at the 8 block mark because when you get to the tops of these, the most effective way to send things along is to have a water stream sweep them all one direction wherever they're going. But if you were to need to elevate all of your items, you could use this, or you could use a water stream, but for completeness sake, I built this monstrosity. Once again, same set of circuits. Anytime there's any item in any one of these droppers here, the comparator will light up, send the signal onward. We have the same clock at the far end here, doing the same job as we've seen before. So, if you were to have your water stream at the top of this, I would put a block of ice between these two, send your water onward, and that will sweep all of your items to one place. And as long as it's not more than 5 stacks of an item at a time, it won't overwhelm a hopper or a hopper line. You could also use a hopper line over top of all of these in general just to move your items, but that will slow things down. And these are for high speed use. So there is a quirk to this that I have been unable to figure out, but it's rather humorous. Now, this is a trapped chest, so none of these items will move until I have closed the box. So as we do that, you'll see there's some kind of bias that means using a set of 8 is just not useful because it only uses 2 of the dropper elevator lines on both sections of this. You'll see these hoppers are facing apart from each other into these chests. So only this minecart is pulling items and sending them through these hoppers. This one is getting nothing. I don't know why this is, because you saw it work over here just fine, that they spread out through all 4 lines without a problem. But adding this pair of hoppers in this chest caused whatever this bias is towards only using 2 dropper elevator lines at a time. And I have tested this even by loading this chest up with numerous stacks. We still only get 2 on each section. And that would be too much clicking for one video. And if I take this chest out and these hoppers, it uses all 4 dropper lines, no problem. So I have no idea what's happening there other than that from our perspective right here, the leftmost cart is given priority somehow in the code, and it's sucking out all the items before this cart gets any at all. I otherwise cannot think why this would be the case, other than just Minecraft's general code. I even used this variant of a fast hopper line to load things in, and we still get the same. Well, that won't. This part isn't built, so you won't be able to see it other than the comparators lighting up. But you see only the 2 on this side. So, really, these are very simple. It took me a long time to arrive at running the line underneath with observers, and obviously they are very expensive to build, but if you needed to elevate your items quickly, this is how you would do it. You could possibly just use the circuit without so much extra and without the observers and send them into a water line, but the water would slow them down because for a water elevator you need to have soul sand at the bottom to push items upward faster than usual. So it is possible that that would work, that you could get the item to be shunt through the soul sand and into the water, but I don't think that's likely to happen, and it risks losing your items to one side or another. This may be the fastest way that we can send stacks and stacks of items upward, and this is the best of what I've found for high-speed elevators, and I think this is going to be the last of our dropper lines. So I will leave you with that until next time. There will not be a video next weekend as I already know I'm going to be working. So I will see you in a couple of weeks. Be blessed on your next quest, and I am off to my next adventure.